The sun cast its golden rays upon the serene lakeside, where 4 campers, Ella, Jake, Marion, and Luis, were setting up their tents. The azure waters of the lake sparkled in the daylight. The dense woods surrounding it seemed to be holding whispered secrets. The allure of adventure had brought them here, miles away from the humdrum of city life. Jake, while hammering a tent peg, noticed a half-buried sign nearby. Clearing the earth away, he could make out faded words. "Beware the blood moon's night." Laughing it off, he quipped, "Looks like we've got ourselves a haunted camping trip." As dusk began to envelop the woods, a soft, mournful melody drifted to their ears. Following the sound, they saw the distant village, its people gathered around a bonfire, their faces illuminated in an eerie dance of flames and shadows. Before they could decide whether to join the festivities, an old villager approached them. His eyes, weathered by time, bore an urgency. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered, his voice trembling. "The Blood Moon Festival is upon us. For your own safety, leave before nightfall." Ella, always curious, pressed for more. "What's the Blood Moon Festival?" The old man hesitated, but finally relented. "It's an old tradition. Outsiders. They're given to the lake, to appease what resides within." He then hurriedly retreated towards the village, leaving the campers in a mix of disbelief and curiosity. Deciding to know more before hastily packing up, the campers moved stealthily closer to the village gathering. Concealed behind some bushes, they eavesdropped on the villagers. 2 village elders spoke, their voices filled with reverence, about the centuries-old pact and the offering of outsiders to the lake monster during the blood moon. This sacrifice, they believed, kept the village safe and prosperous for another cycle. Luis, eyes wide, whispered, "We have to get out of here." But as they turned to leave, the chilling realization dawned upon them. Every exit route was now guarded by villagers, their expressions stoic, ensuring that the campers wouldn't leave before the ritual. While regrouping, Marion remembered a group of village children they had met on their way to the lake. Perhaps, she thought, the innocence of children might provide an alternative route to understanding their plight. Ella approached a young boy named Taran, who she remembered as being particularly friendly. "We need help," she whispered, hoping he would remember their friendly banter from earlier on that day. Taran, cautious but curious, beckoned them to follow him. He led them through narrow alleys to a secluded old barn at the village's edge. Inside, amidst stacks of hay and rustic tools, was a makeshift clubhouse. The walls were lined with curious items, old toys, trinkets, and impressively, ancient scrolls and manuscripts. "These are our treasures," Taran said, pointing towards the scrolls. "The elders say they're just old tales, but we love the stories." Jake carefully unrolled one titled, "Chronicles of the Blood Moon." The scrolls revealed tales of power dynamics and manipulation. It detailed how the village was once ruled by an elder named Valeric, who had created the myth of the lake monster to establish dominance and control over the village. The ritual of sacrificing outsiders had been a tactic to eliminate potential threats and cement his authority. Luis sighed. "So, the whole village has been living a lie." A voice from the barn's entrance startled them. It was Aria, Taran's older sister. "Many of us have had our doubts," she said, stepping into the dim light. "But fear and tradition bind us. This evidence could be the key." They huddled together, realizing the divide within the village and forming a plan. Aria warned, "Many still believe fervently in the old ways. We must tread carefully." The blood moon's eve approached, and tension suffused the village air. Aria, armed with the newfound revelations and backed by the young faction, decided to call a discreet gathering. Under the cover of dusk, in the same secluded barn, villagers whispered about the revelations from the Chronicles of the Blood Moon. Skepticism warred with hope in their eyes. As they debated their next steps, Ella proposed exposing the truth during the Blood Moon Festival, using the scrolls as evidence. "It's risky," she said, "but it's our best chance to avoid becoming sacrificial lambs." Preparations began. Arya and her group gathered testimonies from the oldest villagers, those whose memories might hint at the inconsistencies in the lake monster tale. They also replicated parts of the scroll, ensuring multiple copies for broader distribution. The night was bathed in an eerie red glow. The entire village, including the unsuspecting traditionalists, gathered around the lake, torches in hand, casting elongated shadows that danced with the ripples of the water. As the ritual began and chants filled the air, Arya, supported by the campers and their young allies, stepped forward, scrolls in hand. "We've been lied to," she declared, her voice resonating with determination. Jake and Marion unveiled the scrolls, reading aloud the deception sown by Elder Valeric and the actual purpose of the sacrifices. The gathered crowd murmured, a cacophony of shock, denial, and realization. But the traditionalist leaders, sensing their power waning, retorted with fervor. "These are just tales, fabrications," one elder exclaimed. Luis, holding a replicated part of the scroll, challenged them. "Then why do these stories exist? Why do they align with memories of our oldest kin?" The atmosphere grew more charged, the villagers torn between age-old beliefs and the revelations in front of them. The lake, reflecting the crimson hue of the moon, seemed to await the outcome of this confrontation, the ripples growing more tumultuous, echoing the villagers' unrest. As tensions threatened to boil over, the lake's surface broke with a sudden tumult. A massive serpentine form began to rise, casting a monstrous silhouette against the glowing blood moon. Gasps and cries of alarm rippled through the crowd. The traditionalists smirked, their beliefs seemingly vindicated. "Behold, the lake monster demands its offering." However, as the supposed monster neared the shore, its form began to waver and shift. Rather than a terrifying creature, the campers and villagers saw a series of interconnected contraptions buoyed by inflating rubber balloons. From the crowd, an elderly figure, known to be a close associate of Elder Valeric's lineage, stepped forward, guilt evident in his trembling voice. "It's true," he confessed. "There was never a monster. Valeric devised this machine. We'd release it during the blood moon as proof of the beast's existence. The balloons would lift the apparatus, making it seem alive." The silence that followed was deafening. Ella, holding up a piece of the contraption, declared, "This is the true face of our fears, a fabricated beast built from wood and deception." Arya, her voice strong and clear, addressed the villagers. "Our history is tainted with manipulation. It's time to face our real demons, the lies we've been told and the ones we tell ourselves." The aftermath of the revelation was a mix of turmoil and reflection. The traditionalists, their beliefs shattered, struggled to come to terms with the enormity of the deceit. The younger generation, led by Arya and empowered by the truth, urged the village towards reconciliation and reform. By morning, the blood moon had faded, but its legacy remained. The villagers, unified by a newfound clarity, worked together to pull the deceptive contraption from the lake, deciding to display it in the village square as a symbol of past manipulation and a beacon of hope for a transparent future. The campers, no longer prisoners but heroes of a sort, were treated with gratitude. As they prepared to leave, the village held a small farewell, where they sang songs not of the lake monster, but of unity, truth, and the dawn of a new era. Marion, reflecting on their ordeal, mused, "Sometimes the real monsters aren't in the depths of the lake, but in the depths of our beliefs." With the serene lake as their backdrop, the campers bid goodbye to the village, leaving behind a community forever changed, moving forward with hope and unity.